Oswald Spengler's The Decline of the West, originally Der Untergang des Abendlandes, 1918 to 1922, stands as one of the most provocative works of early 20th century philosophy and historiography. It presents a bold, cyclical theory of civilizations, arguing that cultures, like living organisms, experience a life cycle encompassing birth, growth, maturity, and inevitable decline. Spengler's work is not merely a historical analysis, but a sweeping philosophical meditation on the fate of human civilization, challenging the linear, progressive view of history prevalent in Western thought. At the heart of Spengler's thesis is the distinction between culture, and civilization. A culture, in his terminology, is a living, organic phenomenon marked by spiritual and creative vitality. It arises from a people's unique worldview, artistic expression, religious sensibility, and intellectual achievements. In contrast, a civilization is the stage in which the culture's inner life wanes and its external, material aspects dominate. Civilizations are characterized by urbanization, technological advancement, bureaucratic structures, and political centralization, but they also signal the exhaustion of creative energy and the onset of decline. In Spengler's vision, the West has transitioned from its cultural phase, exemplified by the flowering of art, philosophy, and religion in earlier centuries, into a civilization phase marked by materialism, rationalism, and mechanization. Spengler's analysis is deeply comparative and draws on numerous historical civilizations, particularly the Egyptian, Mesopotamian, Indian, Chinese, Greco-Roman, and Western, or Faustian cultures. Each civilization, he argues, possesses a distinctive morphology and inner logic that governs its development. For example, the Egyptian civilization is characterized by monumental, timeless art and a religious focus on eternity. Its worldview is linear, oriented toward permanence, and static in its cultural expression. In contrast, the Faustian West, emerging in Europe, embodies a dynamic and expansive vision. It is characterized by a sense of infinite space, technological ambition, intellectual exploration, and the pursuit of universal truth. This Faustian spirit is reflected in the soaring Gothic cathedrals, the expansive ambitions of Western science, and the global scope of Western political and economic influence. One of Spengler's most striking claims is the inevitability of decline. Cultures, like organisms, have a predetermined lifespan. They emerge from primal roots, reach creative maturity, and eventually succumb to external pressures and internal exhaustion. For the West, Spengler foresaw a period of civilization, marked by urban sprawl, the rise of mass politics, economic rationalization, and technological mastery, but also by spiritual emptiness and cultural sterility. According to him, the cultural heart of the West, the deeply felt artistic, philosophical, and religious life, would be replaced by superficial forms of achievement, akin to how a once vibrant tree might produce abundant fruit but lose its sap and vitality. The civilization stage, therefore, represents a kind of cultural sunset, where technical prowess exists without spiritual depth. Spengler's framework relies heavily on a deterministic, morphological view of history. He rejects the Enlightenment notion that history progresses toward moral or material improvement. Instead, he sees history as a natural, cyclical process governed by organic laws. Civilizations are not judged as better or worse than each other. Each follows its own path dictated by its inherent character. In this sense, the West is not better than the Egyptians or Greeks. It simply represents a distinct cultural form with a life trajectory that is now entering decline. By emphasizing patterns over individual events, Spengler shifts the focus from political, economic, or military explanations of history to the broader, almost biological rhythms of cultural evolution. A crucial aspect of the decline of the West is Spengler's concept of Faustian space, which underpins Western identity. The Faustian soul, as he calls it, is defined by striving, longing, and a drive toward the infinite. Unlike other civilizations that find fulfillment in cyclical or finite frameworks, the Faustian West seeks endless expansion, intellectual conquest, and transcendence of limitations. This quality drives both the creative achievements and the imperial ambitions of the West, manifesting in the age of exploration, scientific revolution, and industrialization. Yet this very striving accelerates the culture's exhaustion. The boundless expansion that characterizes the Faustian spirit cannot be sustained indefinitely, leading to overreach and cultural exhaustion. Spengler also addresses the role of politics and economics within the civilizational cycle. He predicts that as cultures move into the civilization phase, political life becomes increasingly centralized, bureaucratized, and impersonal. Democracy, nationalism, and mass movements are manifestations of this stage, reflecting a shift from organic, culturally rooted governance to instrumental, efficiency-driven administration. Economically, civilizations at this stage prioritize wealth accumulation, trade, and technological development over spiritual and cultural creativity. While such achievements may bring material prosperity, they indicate the decline of the soul of the culture, a central Spenglerian concern. Despite its sweeping scope, Spengler's work has been criticized for its determinism, lack of empirical rigor, and occasional Eurocentrism. Critics argue that he overgeneralizes civilizations, applying a rigid, almost biological template to complex, multifaceted historical realities. Moreover, his deterministic framework risks fatalism, suggesting that societies are powerless to alter their inevitable decline. Nevertheless, the decline of the West remains influential precisely because it challenges linear, progressive notions of history and emphasizes the temporal, contingent nature of human civilizations. Spengler's ideas gained particular resonance in the context of early 20th century Europe. Written in the aftermath of World War I and the collapse of long-standing empires, his vision of cultural decline spoke to a widespread sense of disillusionment and uncertainty. Many readers saw in his work an explanation for the political turmoil, economic instability, and moral anxieties of the post-war period. Spengler's insistence that civilizations are subject to organic laws resonated with a generation grappling with the collapse of traditional structures and the rise of modernity. An important element of Spengler's methodology is his use of analogy and metaphor. He frequently compares civilizations to living organisms, emphasizing growth, maturation, senescence, and death. Art, religion, and philosophy serve as indicators of a culture's vitality, much as physical health reflects an organism's condition. In this sense, Spengler provides a framework not just for understanding history, but for interpreting cultural expressions as symptoms of broader civilizational dynamics. The genius of the artist, the philosopher, or the scientist is thus intertwined with the life cycle of the culture itself. Individual achievement cannot be fully separated from collective cultural vitality. Spengler's predictions have sparked both admiration and controversy. Some see him as a prophet, anticipating the materialism, technological dominance, and political transformations of the 20th century. Others criticize his pessimism, arguing that Western civilization has repeatedly demonstrated resilience and adaptability. Nonetheless, his work remains a touchstone for debates on cultural sustainability, historical determinism, and the philosophical interpretation of history. It forces readers to confront questions about the lifespan of cultures, the meaning of artistic and intellectual achievement, and the potential limits of technological and economic progress. In conclusion, The Decline of the West is a monumental work that combines history, philosophy, and cultural criticism into a single sweeping vision of human civilization. Spengler's central argument, that cultures follow an organic life cycle from birth to decline, offers a powerful, if controversial, alternative to linear, progress-oriented views of history. By distinguishing between culture and civilization, emphasizing the Faustian character of the West, and analyzing historical patterns across diverse civilizations, Spengler provides both a framework for understanding past human achievements and a cautionary reflection on the future trajectory of Western civilization. His work challenges readers to recognize the temporal limitations of human endeavor and the inevitability of change, encouraging reflection on how the spiritual and creative energies of a culture might be preserved or renewed, even as material and political structures evolve. Ultimately, whether one accepts his conclusions or disputes them, The Decline of the West remains a seminal meditation on the rhythms of history, the rise and fall of civilizations, and the enduring question of what it means for a culture to live, flourish, and decline.